Howdy again, everybody. This is Doc from Thorofan coming to you with the name behind the race. And oh yeah, it's that time of year. It is where you are either going to be out where the turf meets the surf, or you're going to be up relaxing at the spa. That's right, Saratoga and Del Mar have their opening weekends this weekend, and it's going to be great cards on both ends of the coast, and we just can't wait for it. Obviously, we all look forward to it very much so this time of year, and I'm obviously no exception. We are going to focus on a race this week that is happening at the spa. It is the Sanford for 2-year-olds, and it's a race that has a lot of history behind it, both in the family that it was named after, who are kind of icons up in the Saratoga racing world, as well as for, well, a horse that is probably the most famous horse ever to finish second in the race. What exactly do I mean? I'm about to show you as we look at the name behind the race. Mentioning the word Saratoga to any racing fan, and one thing that immediately comes to mind is babies. No, not those babies, but rather 2-year-olds. Arg, not those either. We're talking about horses here. From its inception, Saratoga has been the place where the top 2-year-olds in the nation were revealed for all of us to see. One of those races that showcases the future stars of the thoroughbred set is the Sanford, with such winners as the immortal Secretariat, seen here after his win in 1972. Note how in those days, and up until recently, the winner's circle at Saratoga was simply just a chalk circle on the racetrack. I kinda miss that after they took it away. The Sanford is named for the father and son duo of Stephen Sanford and John Sanford, the latter taking over the horse racing operation when his father passed away. Living in Amsterdam, New York, Stephen inherited his father's carpet manufacturing business and built it up into a massive operation that proved to be quite profitable. Suffering from ulcers related to the stress of the business, his doctor recommended he take up a hobby to relieve some of that stress. So Sanford turned to horses and started Hurricane Farm. He named the farm, located in Amsterdam, after the strong winds that would often blow through the nearby Mohawk Valley. Influenced greatly by the Mohawk Nation, Stephen would go on to name many of his horses after members of that nation. Sanford built Hurricane into quite the successful breeding and racing operation, with a lot of that success due to the great job his trainer, Holly Hughes, seen here sitting with Sanford, did with all the horses at Hurricane. Stephen Sanford lived for the Saratoga racing season. Having a fully built track on his farm property, he would hold many training races there on Sundays before the Saratoga racing season began. The events were the not-to-be-missed event on those Sundays and would draw quite the crowd. When the time for racing at Saratoga was set to begin, Sanford would walk his entire stable over to the track for the racing season. Now, this was not just as simple as walking across the street as can be seen every day during the racing season. No. He had his horses walk the 27 miles from Amsterdam to Saratoga for the races. How was that for a little pre-race warm-up? He did this because of an innate fear of motorized transportation he had always had. The Sanfords did quite well for themselves in the racing game, winning many prestigious stakes throughout the country, including the Kentucky Derby with George Smith, whom trainer Holly Hughes said was the best horse he had ever laid his hands on. And John became the first American to win the most prestigious steeplechase race in the world, the Grand National, with his horse Sergeant Murphy. Both Stephen and John were fixtures of the Saratoga community, and John became a member of the New York Racing Commission. Father and son were also elected to brief stints in Congress. Saratoga had a race already on the books named the Hurricane, and when the older Sanford passed away in 1913, the race was renamed the Sanford Stakes in his honor. Many outstanding horses have won the Sanford on the path to becoming champions. However, it is the horse that didn't win the Sanford that is often most remembered in the race history. He was the Great Man o' War, and it was in this race that he suffered the only defeat in an otherwise stellar career. Despite being an overwhelming favorite and expected to demolish his competition, he suffered a very troubled trip and could not run down the winner, a horse ironically named Upset. The sports term upset has occasionally had its origins traced to this race and the horse, but our crack historian Alan did some researching through the archives and found that the term was actually being used well before this time, as far back as the 19th century. So, how could the mostest horse lose? Was a race fix on for gambling gain? No investigation ever revealed proof of a race fix, But it is interesting to note that the jockeys of both Man O' War and Upset were denied future licenses to ride by the Jockey Club and actually never rode again. The Sanford has been part of a 3-race series for 2-year-olds at Saratoga that also includes the Saratoga Special and the Hopeful. Despite its long tenure, only 4 horses have ever swept all 3 races, and the one that stands out most in my mind for his spectacular stretch runs was De Hare in 1993. While he never was able to really fulfill on the promise he created as a 2-year-old, his stretch run on the Sanford was scintillating nonetheless.
In between those two, dish it out, and De Hare is bottled up once again. He's in behind a wall of horses as they turn for home. Chris McKernan angles them to the outside as they come toward the final furlong. Down inside Distinct Reality. Here comes Prenup. And De Hare's in gear on the outside. De Hare again with a brilliant burst. Runs by the field. De Hare electrifying here at Saratoga. Look at this promising 2-year-old. He does it again. Wow, what a racehorse. He won.
Well, there you go, everybody. Everything you wanted to know about the Sanford Stakes and the family behind it, as well as a little bit of interesting race history with it as well. And I do hope that everybody really starts to enjoy this great summer season of racing, whether you're out there with the roar of the crowd as they bust those gates open at Del Mar, or you're there shouting and they're off at Saratoga come this Friday. I hope everybody really enjoys the meet. I can't wait to get up there in a couple of weeks to enjoy part of it, and it's just the greatest racing out there that there is. Everybody has to get up to Saratoga or Del Mar at least once in their lives. That's about going to do it for this week's segment of The Name Behind the Race. If you happen to have a race that you're curious about the history or the name behind, drop us a line here at Thorofan. I'd be more than happy to research it for you. And you never know, it might end up on a future segment. I'm Doc for Thorofan, and we will see you next time on The Name Behind the Race.
If you're an incredibly passionate thoroughbred racing fan and want to find a whole bunch of people that are just like you, why not check out Thorofan at thorofan.com. Sign up to become a member, get our amazing weekly newsletter, and learn everything and anything there is to know about this amazing sport we call thoroughbred horse racing. Thorofan, giving the fans a voice.